So we were recently at the Mars conference in Ogden, Utah, and it was a great event put on by the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence. And one of the things that they did was they had a panel discussion, and the audience could ask whatever questions they wanted. And there was one really interesting question that a person asked, and that was, if I haven't been doing marketing in my auto repair shop, where should I start? And there were, everybody answered. And, we've all kind of got our go-to answers for, because our experiences as marketers, they vary. There's some people that they have their favorite tool that they go to, and, they are the best at using that. And they believe, of course, that, that is the best tool to use when it comes to marketing. And, I remember, of course, the website guy that was there was talking about getting your website right. The person that was there who had spoken about social media marketing, they were talking about how you need to get your messaging down, which I agree with that.
It's all the expected things, though.
Mm-hmm. And, when it came my turn to answer the question, I asked them, well, or I didn't ask, I said, we would need to know more information. Is this a shop that is currently busy and they want to add a few cars into the mix? Or is it a shop that's hurting? Like, they need cars now. Because the way that you would begin marketing for those two different shops would be
very different.
Yeah. And, of course, my go-to when it comes to that, like if you need cars now, my go-to is typically going to be something like Google AdWords.
Right.
Because it's like a switch. You can turn it on and the phone starts ringing. Turn it off, phone stops ringing. And then, of course, I passed the mic and it went to the next person. And while they were talking, I was thinking about it. And it was like, man, I just did them a big injustice by answering that way. Because there's a lot of shops, especially when it comes to a shop that's never done any marketing before. They might be a newer shop. They might be on a limited budget. And I was thinking about, what are the things that they can do? Because Google AdWords is not cheap.
Right.
If you want to see a return from it, you've got to put money into the budget. And if you want it done well, you're going to pay someone who has experience in doing that.
Yep.
But, I was thinking about, like, what are some of the things, though, that would be very cost effective for a shop to do? And I was actually able to grab the mic back and talk about that. But this is really your expertise. I mean, this is the stuff where, like, you shine. You live for this stuff. And, I was talking about things like B&I, Chambers of Commerce, and all of that, which unfortunately, a lot of business owners, they dismiss that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
very often. Well, so there's different ways to look at that. There's face-to-face marketing. There's marketing that's just about how your shop looks and the appearance that it's putting off. And there's things you can do to go the extra mile. So when it comes to things that are face-to-face, these are typically going to be event-focused. But like Brian said, we really have seen incredible value in B&I groups and chambers of commerce and hosting events at our shop. So when I joined our shop, I had no idea what marketing even was. But Brian was like, you're great with people, you'll figure it out. And the very first thing I did was just get involved in the community. I just kind of filled my schedule with that. And so you have to really first think about who's going to do that. If you are the quiet, introverted, you hate being around people, you're not into that, you might not be the right person. So it doesn't have to be the business owner that's the one doing it. So really just kind of do an evaluation and think about who's the best person in the shop to do that. And in our case, I'm the one that was just a natural fit for. So,
and it was interesting because I actually Kim was involved with the chambers of commerce and things like that, but I had never even heard of BNI.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually it was a brand new service advisor that I had hired. He had had experience when he worked for Verizon cell phones, so, selling Verizon, and he was introduced to BNI, and he said, "Hey, you should go check this thing out."
Yep.
And I ended up joining the BNI group, which I'm a total introvert.
Yeah. So let's tell them a little bit about BNI. And look, we're not even in BNI anymore, so it's not like we're not getting any kind of kickback. This is just really good stuff. So BNI stands for Business Networking International. There are chapters of BNI all around the world, literally, and and so we were in the Raleigh area. There was like 40 different chapters in our area.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to visit them and really kind of get a feel for which one felt right, which one were we going to enjoy, because it's a time investment. So you really want to find a group that you're going to enjoy because you go to it every single week. And I always looked at it as my weekly sales meeting. I was essentially training my sales staff. So you go to this meeting with these other business professionals with the intent of referring business to one another. So the whole focus is helping each other grow their businesses. And so in this group, it's where I got comfortable public speaking. It's where I got comfortable meeting new people and all of that stuff. And so every week I was going and I was sharing with them about our shop. And so we definitely got that first level of referrals from the people in the BNI group, but then which is what you're looking for, is really getting their connections so that they're out and about, and when they're meeting with their friends or their family, or they're at church or they're at the ball field or whatever it might be, and someone's talking about, I had a flat tire today, or my car broke down, or whatever it might be, they're thinking about you. So they're like, hey, I know a great shop, I'm friends with these people, they're really great, so on and so forth. And so they are referring to you. And the thing that I love about BNI is also the thing that lots of people don't like about BNI is that it's very structured. There's a set of expectations. They expect you to be there every week. So if you can't be there, you need to find someone who's going to kind of sub for you or take your place that week. But if you put your time and energy into it, you can get great results. In fact, it was so good for us that because they only allow one business per profession in the chapter. So there's only one auto repair shop, one collision repair shop, one residential realtor, so on and so forth. And it was so good for us that we both joined two different chapters. It was that good.
Yep. And now, BNI, you have your meeting every week, but the magic of BNI doesn't actually happen during that meeting.
Right.
Because the meeting is really for the guests.
Right.
It is for, people so that's one of the things that you do when you're in BNI is you're expected to bring guests, and not every week, but every now and then you bring a guest. And the meeting is for the guest. And it's also for the opportunity to be able to say, this is what I'm looking for,
right,
this week. But talk about where the real magic of BNI happens.
Yeah, so the coolest part about BNI is they call them one-to-ones. So a one-to-one is when you do what we're doing, right? You just sit down with another member of the chapter and you get to know them. And that's even structured if you need it. But, it's where you go have coffee with someone, or you go to dinner, or you just maybe attend an event together. But the purpose of the one-to-one is really to get to know that other person and their business so that you will feel more comfortable and you'll want to refer to them. So that's the glory and the beautiful part about it. In fact, so many of the people that I got to know, they loved the one-to-ones so much that they were doing one every day for lunch. They just figured, I got to eat lunch. I might as well eat lunch with a person in my BNI group and get to know them better. So that's the best part of it.
Yeah, and when you get to know these people, you genuinely, you form that relationship with them, so that when somebody says, one of your fellow BNI members is out and about, and they hear of someone who needs auto repair, then they're gonna talk about you, and and they don't just say, "Hey, go to Joe's garage."
Mm-hmm.
They'll say, "I know Joe.
Right.
Can I have him call you?"
Yeah.
So it's
It's a warm referral. It's not a cold.
yeah, and it doesn't just get lost
No.
in the mix.
Because at the next meeting, they don't wait till the next meeting either. They'll text you or email you, "Hey, I met with Sally today and she drives a Mercedes Benz and she's having trouble with this. Here's her phone number and her email address. You can reach out to her. She's expecting you to call her." So it's almost like an appointment has already been made. You just need to finalize it. So that's definitely a big win. BNI is a financial investment, but our average repair order was,
A little less than 800.
yeah. And so if we got one referral, it pretty much paid for our membership and more. So, a lot of times the cost deters people, but when you think about within a couple of weeks, you're going to pay yourself back the cost of the membership.
And it's one of the most cost-effective types of marketing that you can do,
Absolutely.
especially for that shop that it's a newer shop, or it's a shop where you need to get some more cars in, but you don't have a huge marketing budget. Um,
Yep,
because
definitely.
because the cost of I don't remember what it is, a little less than $500 a year, I think.
It's gone up a little bit. I think it's maybe close to that. There's a one-time application fee, but it's
Yeah.
definitely doable.
But
But
we're talking about a typical shop less than what you would spend on a month in AdWords,
oh, for
and
sure.
the return that you get on it is is massive.
Yeah. And the other thing that I want to be sure to mention that people don't think about, and it's just kind of a supplementary benefit, is you've now grown your network. So other than just actual referrals for appointments in your shop, when you post something on your Facebook page that you really need to get out there, you then shoot a message off to, we had 40 people in our chapter. I think you had close to 40 people in your
Hmm.
chapter. So we're messaging them and saying, "Hey, could you please share this post for me?" Or if you're having an event, these people are going to come out to your event and support you. So there's other things rather than just the actual referral, but it's the support that you get for, when you get a new tool or you need to hire someone, right? I mean, that's a great thing, especially today. So you can send that out to your network of BNI members and now say, "Hey, I'm hiring a service advisor. I'm looking for a good technician who knows someone." And so you've got this whole network of people that are thinking about you and supporting you and referring to you.
Yeah, and BNI is great for hyper local businesses.
For sure.
The people that tend to do incredibly well in BNI are all of your real estate type people. The agent, the mortgage lender, but the auto
Service
repair
related.
shop. Yeah, any kind of service related,
Yep.
plumbers, electricians, all of that. Auto repair shop, I've never seen it not work
Yep.
for an auto
It
repair
was
shop.
so good for us.
And it can be the business owner, it can be the service advisor. The last one that you were a member of, this was when we had first started our agency and we were working with local businesses. We had joined a BNI group. Kim had someone who was an actual mechanic
Yep.
that came to the group.
Yep.
And it was good for them because not only did people come into the shop, but they came into the shop asking for them, for that specific person
Yeah.
to work on the car. So it was really interesting.
But he saw it as a value because obviously mechanics want to be busy, and so at first I think that if I remember correctly, he was saying that he wasn't so sure about it. He knew he would love it because he's that outgoing personality person, but he was concerned about being taken away from the shop. And
Yeah.
once he went a couple times, he realized, wait a minute, I basically am keeping myself busy because people are coming in asking for me. So that's a face-to-face type, but then also chambers.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, and I don't know that you really were in the beginning so much.
I was like everyone else, and when you start talking about chambers of commerce, so many people will tell you, "Oh, well, I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce."
It never worked for me.
It never did anything for me. And it's not becoming a member of the chamber is not like becoming a member of the Better Business Bureau. It's not something where
Totally different.
you like become a member so that you can say that you're a member.
Yep.
What is it that you like to say?
I don't even know where I got this from, but it just makes perfect sense. And I like to consider my chamber membership like it's a gym membership. So I can't join a gym, get mad that I'm not healthier or not losing weight or not getting stronger when I don't go to the gym. Like, you have to use the membership. The purpose of a chamber is not for you to just be listed in their directory. The purpose of the chamber is very similar to the BNI group in that they are in your local community and they want to help small local businesses grow. And not even just small businesses, because they, obviously have members that are large businesses as well, but they're rooting for you. They're cheering for you. So when people will reach out to the chamber and say, "Hey, I'm new here. I'm looking for a good shop," they're going to refer to the businesses that are members. But when it comes to what I was saying about using it, every chamber, I say most good chambers are going to have regular monthly recurring events that you can attend.
Like multiples of them.
Several, right. And of course, I know right now, depending on when you're watching this video, hopefully we'll be out of this pandemic situation, but right now a lot of them are doing virtual events or they're postponing or canceling events. But once we get past this pandemic, those in-person live events are certainly going to happen again. I know our chamber, when we had our shop, they had 3 that you could count on every single month. They're going to have those, and it was a breakfast, a lunch, and an after hours thing. So there was the business before hours. So usually it's like a breakfast. They're always looking for a local business to host it. And so you would pay a couple $100 to be the sponsor to host that business before hours. But then you're going to have some breakfast brought in. And that's usually, every chamber's different, but usually that's a more casual, kind of laid back. You do sit down because you're eating breakfast, but then you're up walking around, networking and meeting people. So, and it's early. So if you want to, run by, grab yourself some breakfast, meet some new business people, take a tour of the business that's hosting it, catch up, maybe further some relationships that you've developed with people in the community, and then head on your way to work. So that's usually something that you can do. Then there's a lunch event once a month. And then there's usually a business after hours, which is just like the business before hours, with the addition of sometimes a little adult drinks are available. But those are generally pretty popular. And they're casual. You walk in, you're usually standing, walking around, greeting people, getting to know people, and just perfecting your own networking and adding to your, quote, Rolodex of connections.
So there's something you just said there about perfecting your networking. There truly is an art to networking. Mm-hmm. You'll go to these events and there'll be the people that come around and they just start spraying their business cards at people. Because they're there, and the only thing that they care about there is trying to get business. That's it. But that's not really what you want to do with those events. You want to create those relationships. That's really, all of this is about getting well known in your community. When people know you through these events, they're going to recommend you because
they're going to recommend you if they know you, if they like you, and if they trust you, which you love to talk about. But the spraying of the business cards, I mean, this could be a whole nother video that we talk about, is just networking tips and not, things not to do. But I remember 2 things. One, there was this one guy who every single time I was at an event, he would come in and literally take like 2 or 3 seconds and go to each person. "Hey, I'm Tom Smith. Here's my card. I'd love to get your business. Literally, that's
I
what he would
know the
say.
guy you're talking about.
And he would go to each, like, even if we're sitting here talking in the middle of a conversation, he would just walk right up into the middle of it, interrupt us, pass out his cards and his brochure, and then move on to and people would literally, he would walk off and they would literally look at each other and go, oh my God, did that just happen? And so when you think about perfecting your networking, think, like, what impression do you want to leave for people? Because I promise you he didn't get any business. If he
No
did,
way.
I can't imagine what that must have been like. But there is an art, and I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at it, but I wasn't my first my first networking event. I left crying. I got in the car sobbing, crying. Um, Later on, I ended up apologizing to that person, but he pretty much told me, hey, I was in the same boat you were, so I was just glad to have somebody to talk to. But I took up this guy's time and talked to him forever. But so, that's another thing we can talk about at another time is just networking in general and how to do it and what not to do and that sort of thing.
But those events are about getting well known in your community.
Yes.
It's about building those relationships, and you will, like, you'll get a bunch of people that that you'll start seeing in common in places like BNI and your chamber and all. The people that are involved in that, they get in. They're the ones who get involved in all of the stuff locally, and you build this, like, sphere of people that you've got this relationship with that they just want to recommend you.
Yep.
Absolutely. They themselves will typically become your client, but that's not what you're looking for.
No, you're looking for their connections and the people they know in their neighborhood, at their HOA or at their kids' ballpark or at their church or whatever it might be. The third type of face-to-face is just events in general that maybe you're hosting. And I'm sure that when I brought this up to you the first time, you probably thought you're crazy. But eventually, I think that I must have fooled you into it because we ended up hosting lots of events. Any opportunity that I could open up our business. We even hosted a small group from the church in the lobby of our of our shop. But when the chamber needed someone to sponsor a business before hours or a business after hours or we would create our own events also. It wasn't even about necessarily hosting other events. I want to say that we even hosted the BNI group meeting one time.
We did.
I feel like that, usually the BNI group met at this restaurant or whatever every month, but something was going on and we hosted it. So we just set up chairs and brought in breakfast and coffee and hosted the group. So
basically any opportunity that you have to get people into your business. I mean, we became a Toys for Tots drop-off location. We were there when Hurricane Katrina hit. And we're from Louisiana. We were our shop was in North Carolina. We spent 10 years in North Carolina. But when Hurricane Katrina hit, everybody wanted to help. And it really hit home for us with us being from Louisiana. So we became a drop-off center. And we thought that we were going to, get enough stuff to load up a pickup truck and bring it down to Louisiana.
That we were going to just drive ourselves. And also we weren't. So we also believe very often in done is better than perfect. We had no real plans.
No.
Like, we weren't connected to the Red Cross or any, boots on the ground effort here in Louisiana. We literally just put it out to our community and said, hey, we're from Louisiana and we want to help our community there. So please drop off. And we gave them like a long list of things.
Yeah,
and
diapers and water and all that stuff.
And we were like, we're just going to drive it down there.
We ended up filling 2 tractor trailers. It was crazy.
Yep.
But what happened was for, I don't know, the next year after that, so we asked every client, how did you hear about us? And I can't even tell you how many, said, well, we came here to drop off some stuff for the Katrina drive. And that's
We
where we
saw the
learned about your
shop.
shop.
And, you know, so if you think about it, when you're the drop off spot for something like that, whether it's a food drive or a diaper drive or, you know, a school supply drive or whatever it might be, you're giving the public the chance to come into your shop, number one. So see it, feel it, experience it for themselves. Meet your staff because your service advisors or somebody's going to greet them. And so they're going to get to know, like, and trust you and or the people at your shop, and they're going to see, okay, this is a clean place. It's not what I envisioned, you know. And so that's why, you know, it was something as simple as that that made a big impact.
And we had zero intention of doing that for business. We
Right.
were doing that only because we wanted to do something for our home state after this hurricane.
And we're
But
I
we
mean
got a
we're southeast
ton.
Louisiana, so we like literally lots of friends, lots of family were deeply tragically impacted, and
Yeah.
so it was our way. We even had people that became, I'm thinking of Robin. We even have people that became customers and friends because they were from Louisiana and they lived in our community. She literally, this one lady in particular, you could walk to our shop and she was like, I had no idea y'all were from Louisiana. And so she became a longtime client and referred her friends in her neighborhood, again, just a block around the corner. So you just never know how these kinds of things. And then the 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 typical automotive related event that was not popular at all when we had our shop, but we were doing these things, were the car care clinics for women, for Girl Scouts, for Boy Scouts, you know, all those
Those
things.
were my favorites. Were the ones for the scouts. You know, because we would get these kids to come into the shop, and I loved it because you know we were doing something great for them. We were
Mm-hmm.
helping them to earn their merit badge, and their parents would come along too. You know, the
Yep.
kids didn't come to the shop by themselves, so the parents would come along. Our staff was there. They were taking these kids through stations, showing them things like, you know, how to change a tire, how to check oil, how to, you know, replace wiper blades, all this stuff. And the parents were getting to see how our
Mm-hmm.
staff interacted with their
Yep.
kids, and they liked us. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
that's a whole know like trust thing.
And
Well,
that's also the, you know, the scout leaders love it because you're giving them a hands-on thing to do with their kids. But some other events that would be brilliant is here in our community, the fire department does a touch a truck event. So you could do a touch the tools event, something like that, where you're inviting little kids to come in, see, feel, experience, hear these big, loud tools, and, you know, see behind the scenes in a shop, maybe on a Saturday when it's closed, if you're closed on Saturdays, and just experience something different. And also keep in mind, you're kind of recruiting the future workforce when you're doing something like that.
hmm
So that's a cool event. And then as a result of COVID, or during COVID, and I don't know how this would have happened during COVID. Maybe that's just when I found out about it. But there's a shop, like within the last year, they were offering, oh, I think it was virtual. They were offering virtual field trips to local school kids. And so they were doing kind of a virtual tour of their shop, and it was like a talk to the mechanic and get to know the shop and see tools and all this kind of stuff. But I think if I think what happened was they had an actual field trip program where the local teacher would bring their class to the shop. So I used to be a teacher, and I think it's in first grade in our state curriculum where you're teaching first graders about community helpers. And so the shop owner viewed the mechanics in the shop as a community helper. We're helping you keep your family safe and your car on the road and so on and so forth. So he would invite the school kids to come on a field trip. You know, he would tour them, answer their questions, feed them, and then the teacher would take them to the park or whatever it might be. So then I think during COVID, when they couldn't do in person, they turned the field trip into a virtual. But that's a really cool event that you could do as well. So kind of I hate the phrase out of the box, but I don't know what else to call it. It's kind of out of the box. So,
Yeah. So, other things would be, uh, the appearance
mm-hmm.
of your shop. I got, Ratchet and Wrench magazine here. This is July
Turn around
2021.
and show them the cover.
So, yeah, this is the cover of this magazine. Um, but
And it's
July
July this
2021.
year. Yeah.
There's an article in here about McCart's Auto Center. I don't know them,
They're not a
but
client.
they their shop was just a tan metal building, like so many other auto repair shops out there, and people would constantly come in and say, "I've been driving past here for years, and I didn't know y'all were here."
Didn't notice it.
And I mean, we had that at our shop. We were right on a major highway.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big, industrial type building. We fixed it up. We put a nice sign on the front of it and everything, but it still would get lost to people sometimes. Like they're so used to driving by, and they're not paying. They're just
But
they're not paying attention to what the businesses are when they're driving by. But this shop, they ended up doing a complete exterior makeover of the shop. You really need to, if you're an auto repair shop, you are probably getting Ratchet and Wrench magazine. Go look at the July of 2021 issue and look at this article, or look them up online.
And we just shared a link to it on our Facebook page.
Yep. So it's McCart's Auto Center, and they did a complete exterior makeover of this shop.
It's incredible.
They ended up painting it, black and lime green with wood accents, and that sounds kind of crazy.
Yeah,
but
but when you see
it looks amazing.
it's very impressive.
But then, of course, the interior shop, you want it to look great, especially.
But let me come back to that for a second, because our business, like Brian was saying, was on a main highway. It was a nice shop, but it wasn't eye catching. But one thing that we did, and I don't know if you remember this, that really caused a difference was cleaning up the parking lot. Do you remember we had a whole bunch of cars just parked out in the front? We moved some of those like to the back or whatever, but just cleaning up, like you think, well, I want a really busy looking parking lot, and that's fine, but which cars are in your parking lot? So if you work on European vehicles and you've got a bunch of old jalopy, broke down, beat up, torn up, old vehicles sitting out there, that is not going to attract the client that you want.
Even if they're nice vehicles, if you work on Euro cars and you got a lot full of pickup trucks,
well, right, that's what I'm saying.
it's not. They could be brand new, nice looking trucks, and it's just not going to bring in the right kind of clientele.
Yeah, but yeah, so the inside,
fixing up the inside of it and doing, marketing on the inside of your waiting area. Sharing pictures of your family and vacations and all of that, so that people can find things that they have in common with you.
Yeah, I mean, you can just as easily print one of your photos of your family vacation or family photo or whatever, and put it in a frame and put it in your lobby, as opposed to all of the boring automotive related. I mean, there's a place for that, but so many times I'll walk into a shop and there's just
pictures of cars,
nothing but pictures of cars.
And you like that because you that's your
you're
interest.
A shop owner.
That's why you became a shop owner, is because of your love for cars. But guess what? Your clients don't care about that. Now, I mean, if you're a performance shop, okay, they do, and you get a pass on this. But the typical auto repair shop, your clients do not care. Their car is, look, they can love their car, absolutely. But their car is a means to an end. It is there for a purpose. It is a tool for them.
Yep.
So they don't care about all the pictures of cars that you have on the wall.
And we're always going to say, first things first, you need to think about your customers. A lot of our discussions will come from our experiences as shop owners. And so some of the things I'm getting ready to tell you about were catered to our customer. If you know your customer and that is not something that's going to appeal to them, I also always say it's a buffet. If you don't like the broccoli, don't eat the broccoli. But for us, our shop, We were a European shop focused primarily on Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and we had an incredible amount of female clients. And this was 15, 16 years ago. So this was before the big, huge female friendly was even a thing. And so we took great care to think about what our customer was seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling, what that waiting experience was like, what the drop-off experience was like. So when they walked in, our service advisors greeted them, opened the door. They knew you take your coffee black, you take your coffee with 1 creamer and 2 sugars, because we used our shop software and we took notes about our clients, and we kept track of, okay, she has a 10-year-old boy who plays soccer, right? He's on the travel soccer team or what. Like, we really got to know them and took great care
But
of
our
that.
service advisors, they didn't point to the coffee machine and say, "Help yourself to some coffee."
They made it.
They would ask, "Can I get you a cup of coffee?" And they would actually make it for the client. And during the first time, they would ask them how they liked their coffee, and then they would go make a note in the shop management system, so that the next time that person came in, they'd be like, "Oh, hi, Mrs. Smith. Let me get
Yep.
you a cup of coffee. You like it with two sugars and the hazelnut creamer, right?"
Right.
And that person was blown away
Yep.
because they're like, "How do they remember that?" And they
It's
didn't
magic.
remember it. It was notes that were in the
Right.
shop management system, but you just wowed the heck out of
Well,
that customer.
you have an appointment on your calendar. You know that Kelly Smith is coming in at 10 a.m. So at 9:55, take a quick peek in your software to see, okay, her son was, from the conversation you're having with them on checkout, she's rushing to go pick up Tommy because Tommy's going to the Little League World Series in their area or whatever it might be. So we're making a note of that. So the next time she comes in, she's like, "Hey, how did Tommy do at his, tournament or whatever?" And then, so just really thinking, and I talked about smells, like repair shops in general are just known for having that tire and dirty oil kind of smell.
Yep.
So, kind of separating if you can. Our shop area was pretty separated from the lobby, but we still were really careful about, maybe having a candle lit or, and some people are, so you don't have to go crazy with it. A candle is fine. Like our best friend, if she comes to my house, I don't have candles lit because I know that it really drives her crazy. She's got bad allergies. So, like something simple. It doesn't, like, you don't want to overwhelm people with it, but just something that's pleasant. But even our lobby, the waiting, the furniture, so many shops get wrapped up in this buying the industrial, hard chairs to sit in and that sort of thing. If you can, I mean, and again, we were catering to our clientele, but we made our waiting room essentially a living room. We had furniture like this that people sat in, and you never have a ton of people waiting. You need space for a couple of people. Most people are going to drop off, come back, pick it up later, but occasionally we would have 2 people, maybe 3 people. So we had a sofa, a love seat, a chair. We had several. So you don't, because
Yeah,
also
we had
people don't want to sit
nice
together.
living room furniture
Yeah.
in our waiting area, and we're sitting here talking about marketing. And is this really marketing?
Yep.
Absolutely, it is. Any of those things that you can do that make an impression on your client, especially when they'll go out and tell their friends about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the next time that they hear a friend that's looking for an auto repair shop, they'll talk about, "Oh man, I went there. It was so comfortable."
Yeah.
Um,
You're creating something for them to talk about, because if they come into just the average repair shop, there's nothing that's going to wow them, which we're going to talk about going the extra mile also in just a minute, which is going to kind of overlap a little bit with this, but it's the wow experience. People talk about bad experiences and they talk about wow experiences. If you're anywhere in the middle, they're not going to leave talking about it. And so if you do something like this, today lots of people work remotely. And so they may come sit with their computer and feel comfortable working right there. Well, you just made life a lot easier for them. Or, we also had snacks and coffee and pastries from the bakery across the street, and it created this one guy. I don't think he was even a customer. Somehow he found out about it, and he would stop in every single day.
Apple fritter guy.
Yep, to get an apple fritter. We just had a little agreement with the bakery across the street that at the end of the day, we bought whatever was left at the end of the day. And so the next morning, it's like if I made cookies last night and we're eating them today. And so we bought their end of the day pastries, muffins, cupcakes, whatever it was. I don't even remember. I think it was just pastries. And so this guy would stop every day to get an apple fritter and one of our coffees and be on his way, but he became a client.
It was kind of comical.
Yeah, we laughed about it. So,
but then the other thing when it comes to talking about appearance is your uniforms. What are your service advisors wear and what do your technicians wear? And you don't want your service advisors dressed up like a technician.
No.
But you also don't necessarily want your technicians dressed up like a technician.
Right.
There's so much that you can do with that when your logo is represented on your people and they look sharp and they're out on their lunch break. They're having lunch.
They're representing. They're an extension of your business.
Yeah, I mean, people see that. It's that is advertising.
Yep, absolutely. And it's just, so that even brings up when we talk about that, your logo. Like, do you have a logo? There's so many shops that don't even have a logo. It really does matter. And it's a way to have some consistency and cohesiveness when you're talking about your business. It got to where we put our logo on just about everything. And people recognized it. So maybe you do have a logo, but it's really old and outdated, or it wasn't created in a way so that when it gets put on clothes, it looks good anymore. You might have really fine lines that are difficult to embroider. So there's a lot to think about when it comes to that. But your appearance of the shop and your appearance of the professionals that work there is super important.
Yeah, I mean, our service advisors wore button-down collared shirts and ties. And
it made them feel good too. They liked it. It made them feel better and put them in a better level of confidence when they were trying to sell. They're salespeople.
Mm-hmm. And it worked with the whole female-friendly thing. When a woman came into our shop, she knew that she was going to be treated with respect. She was not going to be treated any different. And this is crazy. This just happened with one of our clients in the last week. Mm-hmm. It is 2021 right now.
Yep.
And a lady left a review for one of our clients, and in that review, she raved about how they did not treat her differently because she was a woman.
And it blows my mind because it's 2021. I cannot believe we're still talking
about this.
About that. And we are. I mean, I've just been asked to teach a class about marketing to women, and when I was asked to teach that, I was like, "What? What?"
Yeah.
So
it's still a thing.
So let's talk about the extra mile.
Yeah, so, just so many things that you can do when it comes to going the extra mile. One of my favorite ones to talk about is washing cars. Like, are you washing your customers' cars? Because
and we're not talking about a full out detail.
Yeah, not a
but
detail.
Just give it a good clean
wash. And a vacuum. Mm-hmm. And so many times when somebody comes into your shop, let's say that they're getting a B service on a Mercedes. They might leave from your shop after paying $700 for a maintenance service
and
not feel any difference in the car because they're doing preventative maintenance. Mm-hmm. They weren't fixing a problem. Preventative maintenance doesn't make a car run better. It just keeps it running great. So they never felt a difference. This happened all the time at our shop. People would come in for that maintenance. They pick up their car, and we had washed the car. And they went on and on. They raved about it. And we even had some people that would just pass by, and we told them they could. Like, if you ever want your car washed, just bring it by and we'll wash it. I had a person in the back, making $10 an hour, washing cars for us. And they would wash the car, they would vacuum it. They had it down to about a 15, 20-minute process.
Yep.
And I'll tell you how valuable it was. It was to the point where at the end of the day, if the person who was washing cars was backed up, our technicians would voluntarily step in to help them do it because they saw the
The value
impact
of it.
that it made when we would do that. So are you washing your customers' cars? Because if you're not, man, that's a good place to start.
There's a shop that when a vehicle comes in and there's a car seat, a kid's car seat in the back seat.
That is also in this issue of Ratchet and
I
Wrench
thought
magazine.
so. They
And
are putting a teddy bear
in
in the car seat.
Yep.
I am obsessed with that.
Yeah, I mean it's stuff like that when the parent sees that you did that, and of course if you do something like that, you want to tell them that you did it because
Oh,
their
absolutely.
kid could have an allergy or something like that. But this entire issue of this magazine was really great. The idea of this issue is inside the consumer's mind.
Which is, yeah.
It's effectively what
Yep.
we're talking about right now. But
What matters to them? Like, what are they going to get excited about?
you talk about that going the extra mile. It's that.
Yep, and we used to leave, I forget the book. It's probably up there on my bookshelf. There's a book that we read when we were shop owners about customer service and going the extra mile. And it was, what's the hotel chain?
Oh, about leaving the mint on the pillow?
And
Yeah,
so
it's the E-Myth is the book.
we ended up saying, okay, they're leaving a mint on the pillow. Like they come into your room every night and leave a mint on the pillow for you. We were like, we're going to leave a little treat on the seat when the client picks up. Don't leave, chocolate or anything that's going to melt. But we just left a little something. It's little things like that. Just, it's a little touch. And then.
Well, and you don't have to leave it in the car because that is another way that you go the extra mile is don't just hand your customer the keys and have them go get their car out of the parking lot. Your service advisors should be getting the car, pulling it up to the door, and holding the door open for your customer to get in. And at that point
turn the AC on
something.
So it's already getting cool for them if it's hot outside, or turn the seat heaters on if it's cold outside.
Yeah.
But then also, Brian loves to talk about this, and I have a book up there called Just Ask a Woman, and I think that this idea was triggered from something I read in that book. But men don't think about these things because you don't have to worry about it. But in our bathroom, we had a little tin canister that was sitting on the counter that had female products in it, because when you need it, you need it. And so
I walked in the bathroom one day and I'd seen that canister there forever. I thought it was just a decoration, and one day I opened it and I was like, Kim, what in the world is this about? And I said, how, okay, great, we're providing something that somebody might need, but how are they going to know it's in there? And her response to me was, if you're a woman, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So, man, it's great.
Absolutely. What other extra mile? I mean, there's a ton of things.
I mean, that's really it. We've given so many ideas in this video or podcast or however you're consuming this.
Oh, I know. Like, actually, I've been reminding myself that I didn't call. We just built a new house and the office that we're sitting in right now. And my builder reached out to me last night. She said, hey, call me tomorrow. I want to put together a round table. But do you remember when we did that? We created our own female advisory board, and we only met a couple of times, but I got out of it what I wanted, and it made them feel special. But I reached out, and I had 5 or 6 women in the community that I really respected. So I was strategic about who I picked. 1, 2, I picked people that I knew would actually answer questions and be in a conversation, but I'd invite them to the shop. After hours, I fed them. We had dinner. I think we had drinks. And my whole purpose was to just ask them what they care about, what was important to them. Would pitch ideas to them for things we could do at the shop. Ultimately, I should have put this over here. We ended up getting an award from our Chamber of Commerce as a repair shop. We won the Innovative Business of the Year award. Out of all the businesses in the whole chamber, they picked us and we won the Innovation Award because we were innovating. Customer service. We were doing things that were not typical for any business, let alone an automotive repair shop. It was just surprising.
She was also very strategic to pick people that she knew that would talk.
Right.
Because when you invite somebody to be on an advisory board, then they take ownership.
Yep.
So now.
Oh, and they would say, "Oh, I'm advising them," or if the idea was to put this lamp here, they'd say, "Oh, that was my idea." We came up with that when I was on their advisory board.
So they would refer friends to the shop.
Yep.
So this is a bunch of stuff that people don't normally think of when they think of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
You always think of your, things like your website and search engine optimization and ads in magazines and radio and all that when you're thinking about marketing.
Everything we're telling you, I mean, we don't sell any of this. It's just what we know. If you haven't been doing marketing, right? That was the question.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't been doing marketing, where do I start? Well, start in your community.
Yep. All right. Well, I hope that y'all enjoyed this and got something good from it. If you got any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Brian at shopmarketingpros.com and Kim at shopmarketingpros.com. Thanks for listening.